Hi, Sagittarius. So, most of this reading is going to be dealing with Scorpio season because it is Scorpio season for the most part of November, but I would just like to get a head start and wish all the November Sagittarians on here a very, very happy birthday. So, that being said, Scorpio season is the 12th house arena for you, and it's a lot to do with secrets. It's a lot to do with mystery. It's a lot to do with the unknown. The things that we can feel that we cannot quite see. To put it exactly, Sagittarius, you're a lot more intuitive than usual. You're a lot more in tune with the universe, a lot more in tune with the bigger picture, but you're also a little bit quieter. A little bit more introspective and maybe a little bit more private. Scorpio season's a private time, but as a sign before yours, there's a lot of subconscious stuff comes to the fore that you cannot avoid. And the reason that it does that is to sift through some emotions that need to be acknowledged. Queen of Cups, Scorpio, Cancer, Pisces. You could be dealing with any of these signs, Sagittarius, but you may also be kind of in your feelings a little bit this month, more than usual. You guys are tough cookies, though. I always think Sagittarians would almost, I remember reading whenever I was younger that they laugh with tears in their eyes, even at the most intense emotional moments. You'll still try and crack a joke, you'll still try and make it funny, you'll still unleash the bluntness. And during this season of the subconscious, when all the stuff is sort of bubbling to the surface and you're thinking a lot about who you are and what you stand for, Queen of Wands and the Hierophant and the Nine of Pentacles. Your belief system is so incredibly important to you. You're a sign of philosophy. And a Sagittarius without a philosophy, a Sagittarius without some sort of spiritual perspective or some sort of belief is probably relying on nothing but humor to sort of coax through things. You need to get in touch with that side of you that believes in something bigger. Because you're thinking of making some very adult moves. Buying a house, buying a car, getting married, having kids. You're realizing that even the Sagittarians in the world have to go through the earthling process. And I say earthling because sometimes it just seems like the weirdest concept ever of growing up with people, because people are people. Whether they're children, whether they're adults, people are people. And you're making big moves. Especially going into your season, you're starting to feel like, hey, I should be doing this, and maybe it's time to do that. It's all food for thought at the moment. Making moves like that at the beginning of November, probably not a good idea. At the end of December, you'll have made some pretty significant changes. Some big things. Jupiter has been in your sign since November last year, Knight of Pentacles. And for a lot of you, it has brought so many changes. Children, graduations, deaths, homes, grandchildren, big things, things that you talk to your neighbors about, that kind of stuff. And yet with that has come the need to reflect a little bit. And what does it all mean? That kind of thing. What you would do best during this 12th house season, Sagittarius, what you would do best to do is acknowledge the fact that people think a lot more highly of you than you realize. Just an FYI. More people admire you than you realize, particularly fellow fire signs, particularly water signs. We have earth signs here too. We have people in your romantic life, we have people in your career, everybody. A lot of people are completely on Team Sagittarius, even if you're not totally aware that they're there, they're there. So, while other people are quietly watching, and they will quietly watch because that's what Scorpio season is, it's somewhat obsessive, it's somewhat private, it isn't extroverted in the way that you are, but you get Scorpios though as a sign. You understand the things that people don't say. Just because you say them doesn't mean you don't think everybody else will, you know, be as honest as you are. I think in career, a lot of people are kind of hoping that you will take the lead in something. They're kind of hoping that you will come out of your hiding place that you have put yourself in at the beginning of November. You have a passion for something, and for a lot of Sagittarians, quite simply, there's a lot of people, be it this your profession or be it your personal life, people rely on you to make them feel better. And as I say, it would probably intrigue you, Sagittarius, to know that a lot of people really, really, really admire you this month. And they really want you around, even if you kind of just want a minute to yourself. The Hermit, you want a minute to yourself. If you're dealing with a Virgo person, someone who's actually a lot more shy than you, if you're dealing with a Virgo, I think they are really hoping to hear more from you than they are. And I think if you're dealing with a Taurus, they're possibly kind of besotted. And they just don't quite know what they would do without you. Now, interestingly, you have more characters in your cards for, you know, a sign that is in hermit mode to some extent. Because people, as I say, people want you on their team. People want to hang about with you. People want to be with you. And as we lead to your season, you're actually feeling a little bit more, you're feeling a little bit more like, what if I just took a solo trip? What if I just went off on my own and did this? What if I didn't return to that job? What if I left this relationship? You're kind of thinking about the solo stuff. And you're kind of thinking, is it easier to be alone? But Venus is in your sign for most of the month, and then it will move into Capricorn. And then we will get into Capricorn season. Jupiter will have left your sign. Not before it actually, Jupiter and Venus connect in your sign, bringing you one of the most abundant and prosperous days of the year for all things. Whatever it is you want. The Knight of Wands and the Two of Wands. You are about to undertake an adventure of the heart, of the most authentic version of yourself. Because when you go into your season, you are very, very prepared for the fact that Jupiter is about to leave your sign, not to return for another 12 years, and you think, I've rested, I've thought about things, I've contemplated, I've worked very hard, and now I'm about to make the most of things. The Magician and the King of Cups. Manifesting that soulmate, manifesting that love relationship. If you're in love with a water sign, I think a lot of you are going to find that that really has an interesting turn. And I think it's for the better. But I also think, Sagittarius, you are absolutely not short for options. In fact, I think a lot of Sagittarians may have had to make a choice between two people. One with better prospects. And I think a lot of you are about to make a financial investment of some kind, and it gives you anxiety. Because there's something about there's something about a financial investment that makes Sagittarius feel really quite lonely. Sagittarians are happy throwing money into holidays and experiences with other people, but when it comes to investing in yourself, I think you guys have really bad anxiety about it. I think you're very, very nervous about some sort of solo project or some sort of solo adventure. You're very nervous about it, but it's a good idea. It's a very good idea to invest in yourself. It's a very good idea to put the money into something that will be secure in your future, even if it doesn't feel like the most exciting, adventurous, or gregarious, connected experience with other people. Do something for yourself. Do something that you will be able to look back on and remember as your Jupiter return. For me, personally, as a Scorpio, whenever it was in my sign, many exceptional things happened whenever Jupiter was in my sign, but one of the main things was building this channel, and building, this astrological part of my career. And to have something to look back on that's just yours is a phenomenal feeling. To build something yourself whenever, you have the luck, you have the platform, but you still have to make the effort to make it happen. And I think, Sagittarius, whatever it is that you're doing that is setting you up for the future, even if it is solo, even if it is committing to something on your own that you really hoped you would do with somebody else, or you would like to put off because you think you should do it with somebody else, just do the thing. Just do the thing. There's people that want you to do the thing. People support wholeheartedly this change, and it's big, and it's important. And most importantly as well, it speaks to your heart, and it leads to a lot of self-development. But I also think for a lot of you, there's kind of this adventure into the unknown that is going to change you in somewhat as we get into your season. And as we get into your season, Sagittarius, it is very likely that everything that you want is within arm's reach, but the only difficulty that you have with obtaining it is deciding that you have to be your own best friend. Even if you have so much support around you, you have to decide that you're doing something very significant for yourself. Having some kind of emotional adventure, some sort of love affair between you and something or someone that has long since captivated your attention. And I'm not saying about having an affair, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there's some sort of secret element to this longing, to this hoping, to this element of vulnerability of your sign that you don't even like to express to family at times. Some emotional connection towards the end of the month, I think, takes a lot of Sagittarians by surprise. And I think a lot of people as well would be surprised by the depth of your feeling for someone else or something else, that they may see you obtain it and didn't know you want it. That's kind of the impression that I'm getting here. It's almost like some long-awaited desire has remained a private moment for you. But with Venus in your sign, Sagittarius, it's so very, very important that you go after what it is that you love or what it is that you want, and you make your intentions and your affections clear. Because you cannot win if you're not in the race. And I think for a lot of you, it feels as though the structure wasn't right. The order of things wasn't right to obtain what it is that you are getting, or to master where it is that you are. Maybe it's that you are obtaining a position by someone else's default. Or maybe it is that you are only acknowledging your feelings for someone because they've moved on. Or maybe it's because you're buying a home, but you wanted to buy a home with a significant other. Just because things haven't completely transpired the way that you expected them to, I think much of November for you, Sagittarius, is about accepting that you have something very, very special and you have an opportunity to make something happen. It just isn't necessarily wrapped in the way that you'd expected it to be. Maybe it's falling in love with someone who's not your type. Maybe it was deciding to live a life as a single person, and then someone magical comes along and you think you could probably not live without this person. Maybe it's being the life and soul of the party and for most of your life, and then suddenly deciding, I want to be sober. Whatever it is, Sagittarius, it's a commitment to self, and it's incredibly important that you do it. Even if it is to do with a completely different perspective, a completely different society, changing your belief system, breaking away from an old pattern, breaking away from an old neighborhood, an old routine, addressing your fear of commitment maybe. That's there too. And as you lead into your season, you're actually leading with the heart. And you're also possibly moving into it with a water sign. Be it a Scorpio, be it a Cancer, be it a Pisces. I think Gemini is quite significant here as well. And so are the fire signs, the Aries, the other Sagittarians, the Leos. But there's an earth sign that I think a lot of Sagittarius are missing. You know, a Capricorn, a Virgo, a Taurus. And I think that's where belief in something comes in so importantly. 2019 was always going to give Sagittarians something or someone that they couldn't imagine being without for the rest of their life. Be it a job, be it a baby, be it a partner, be it whatever. There was always going to be something. And if that's not happened yet, it'll happen by the end of the year. So let's get into the animal spirit cards for Sagittarius. This makes so much sense. I'm going to keep this one card because I was reading about this the other night and it makes so much sense. So many times in our life, the elephant is indicative of, you know, it's one of the luckiest animals in the world symbol-wise. I actually have one on my table over there because it brings wonderful energy, wonderful vibes. It's very loyal, it's very loving, it's very wise. But this card in particular symbolizes how on our paths a lot of the time we feel like we're getting rerouted and it's not within our control, but a lot of the time it's because the universe is saying you're taking the wrong path and I have to change it for you because you're not going to change it yourself. And so some things may look skewish, some things may not look quite right, but there is a grander picture here. You can't understand why some things end until you've been rerouted to something better. And it's when that something better finally occurs, Sagittarius, that you just know why everything else didn't work out before. And it's something that a sign like yours instinctively knows. But just because you instinctively know something doesn't mean you can't lose that every so often. And November is a reset button to bring you back to whom you are and the wonderful wisdom and philosophical truths that you, as the archer, possessed all along. So, love you guys. The extended's going to be linked below. We're going to be going into that water sign, that fire sign, that earth sign, and the air sign. We're going to go into everybody and we're going to evaluate the cards and what the beginning of your season begins to mean. Because December is quite an action-packed month, really. A lot of things take off in December that didn't in November, so be in tune for that. But I love you guys very, very much. And I will see you in the extended, or I will see you in the next set of readings. I think they'll be December one. But take care of yourself, Sagittarius.